Welcome back, everyone. So if you thought the corporate higher-ups running the platform have finally figured out how to balance things out, you might want to reconsider that thought, because it feels like every single time we wake up, there's some brand new layer of drama unfolding that completely changes how we look at the platform. In my previous video, we were talking about how the highly engaged 16+ player metric was slowly suffocating smaller creators, and today, we're literally watching the entire foundation of organic growth get ripped apart in real time. Before we get into the main topic, we're first going to look at how the rollout for the new kids accounts is already completely failing to do its main job because the bizarre content still easily available. And right after that, we're doing a direct follow-up to the developer engagement process we talked about last time, because we now have proof from a creator who spent literally $370 showing you how the algorithm actively punishes you if your game does not force players to spend their money. So let's get right into this mess. But first off, let's start with the safety rollout that was supposed to make the platform more secure while guarded for younger audiences. The whole excuse for putting developers through absolute misery with verification checks and publishing fees was to ensure that only the safest and most sanitized content makes it to the front page for users under the age of 13. But if you actually log in and look at what is actively being pushed to players with minimal maturity restrictions, it is just a complete joke. You think after completely destroying organic growth of small creators, the moderation system would be flawless right now. Well, if you search around the platform right now, you would easily stumble across experiences like boys and girls high school roleplay, and even weirder things like boys and girls pool roleplay, which are somehow sitting comfortably with a minimal maturity rating. Now just think about that for a second. The platform is telling teenagers they need a government ID or 1,000 Robux deposit to make a simple obstacle course, but a game literally centered around boys and girls roleplaying in a swimming pool is perfectly fine for everyone to play. It is honestly hilarious how backwards their priorities are here. And if you look at the description for that pool roleplay game, it literally says studies have shown roleplaying with your connections of the pool decreases the chances of dying. I mean, what kind of description is that even supposed to be? It sounds like something someone just typed out to sound edgy, but somehow the moderation team looked at that and decided, yes, this is exactly the kind of high quality safe content we want our youngest players to see. The company's bending over backwards to pretend they're sanitizing website protected kids, but their automated systems are still pushing weird dating and high school roleplay games without a second thought. And it does not even stop the games themselves, because if you look at the marketplace, it is still completely flooded with highly controversial items that anyone can easily buy and wear. We're talking about flags from ongoing real-world conflicts and face accessory tied to sensitive international events just sitting there in the catalog for less than 100 Robux, and various conflict cases just openly available for purchase. The fact that a moderation team allows users to upload and sell items related to intense global conflicts while threatening to permanently restrict developers for not having government ID is probably the biggest piece of garbage you could ever think of, and shows a severe lack of human moderation. How can a company claim they're creating a completely safe environment for children when players can dress up as political statements and jump into a pool roleplay game? This entire rollout is just a shiny coat of paint over a system that is still fundamentally broken, and they built a giant invisible wall to keep bad actors out, but left the front door wide open for all the controversial stuff that already existed. So at that point, I wouldn't even be surprised if another state decided to file their 500th lawsuit, and this time I wouldn't even feel bad one bit. Now moving on to the real meat of the situation, we have to do a follow-up on the terrifying reality of the new publishing requirements we discussed in our last video. And if you watched that video, you know we uncovered how developers are forced to jump through an impossible hurdle of getting 500 highly engaged players just to unlock their game for younger audiences. We figured that this was secretly a way to kill off a lot of passion projects, and well, it turns out the reality is actually much worse than we predicted. A very well-known developer named Evan Bear recently took to Twitter to share his experience trying to get a brand new game off the ground under these new rules, and his analytics provide the exact proof we need to show how rigged this system actually is. He explained that for one of his brand new games, he literally spent $370 on advertisements trying to play by the rules and get some organic traction going. Think about being a developer saving up your own real life money to invest in your passion project. You spent $370, which is a lot of cash for an independent creator just hoping to get your foot in the door. And as a result of that financial investment, his game actually managed to get over 30,000 visits, which is a huge milestone for anyone trying to build an audience today. But despite getting tens of thousands of people to click on his game, the new creator dashboard told him he only has 70 out of the 500 highly engaged players required to pass the evaluation. He literally paid the company to promote his game, and the company still told him his players were not good enough to count. This caused a lot of confusion across the community, and even Creepcraft stepped in to reply to the thread saying that the numbers seemed really low, and guessing that maybe there just were not a lot of age-verified 16+ accounts playing the game. But then Evan Bear pulled out the actual analytics for his game and completely shattered any argument defending his new evaluation system. He showed that this game had an average playtime of 9.4 minutes, which sits right at the 60th percentile for the entire platform. He also showed a day 1 retention rate of 6.49%, which is completely solid and healthy, and to top it all off, he proved that his game reached an average of 2,200 daily active users, peaking all the way at 6,800 users in a single day. Now I want you to really think about what those numbers mean for a solo developer. It means people genuinely like the game and are sticking around to enjoy the content you work so hard to produce. Just imagine looking at your screen and seeing nearly 7,000 unique human beings, not bots, enjoying your creation on a daily basis, and that is enough people to fill up a small stadium. Most small creators will be thrilled to see those numbers on a completely unmonetized project, but the cold corporate algorithm completely validates all the hard work and treats those 7,000 real human beings like they do not even exist simply because they're not opening up their wallets fast enough. So why is the system looking at a game with great retention and thousands of daily players and deciding that those players are not highly engaged enough to count? Well, Evan Bear pointed out the most crucial piece of evidence sitting right there in the fine print of the dashboard. He mentioned that his playtime and retention are decent, but the game is effectively not monetized right now by his own personal choice. He purposely designed a game that does not force players to spend their virtual currency. And if you read the actual description provided by the platform for what makes a player highly engaged, it states that the graph utilizes various indicators such as play history, account age, and platform expenditure to confirm that user interactions are authentic. Now let that sink in for a moment. Platform expenditure. And if you don't know what that means, the algorithm is quite literally looking into the wallets of the people playing your game to decide if they're real players or not. Because Evan Bear made the generous decision to not heavily monetize his passion project, his game naturally attracted players who do not spend a lot of money on the website. And because those players do not have a high platform expenditure, the automated system completely ignores them and treats them like fake automated bots. They only care if your game operates as a successful cash register for the corporation. It does not matter if your game is fun or people play for hours on end, because if they're not spending Robux across the platform, their engagement means literally nothing to the moderation filters. And the proof of this gets even more depressing when you see the update Evan Bear posted later. He showed that despite his game gaining another 10,000 visits, the highly engaged player count only went up by 15, pushing him to a total of 85 out of 500. He clearly stated that highly engaged players are based on the platform stats, so your specific game stats have no impact at all. You can make the greatest, most engaging game in the history of the website, but if your players are just normal kids who do not buy a ton of Robux, you will be punished for it. I strongly believe that pushing developers to squeeze money out of their players just to pass an arbitrary engagement test is a terrible direction for the future of the gaming community. If they do not fix this blatant favoritism towards heavily monetized games, we are going to see a huge exodus of the most talented and passionate creators the community has ever seen. The platform would just become a lifeless machine pumping out generic cash grabs, while the actual artists and programmers move on to better places that respect their time and effort, like Steam, for example, of course, as I mentioned in my previous video. We should be rewarding developers for making fun games rather than treating every single player like a walking wallet. So I want to pass a question over to you guys, because your opinions on this are what really matters. Do you think the algorithm looking at player spending is fair to new developers, or do you think it is just a greedy tactic to force more monetization? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Now before I end this video, make sure to leave a like, hype this video, and help me get to 20,000 subs before the end of this year. And with all that being said, thank you all for taking the time to watch this video and getting the actual facts in the situation, and make sure to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.